All right, so welcome to my stream this weekend. And I just got to get some other things going, so bear with me here. Um, just give me 2 seconds. Almost there. Don't worry. Okay, so that's good. Talk, here we go. Hello, hello, hello. Awesome. Here we go. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are streaming tonight on the many facets of change. Before we get going in a fulsome way, I just wanted to let you all know that what is amazing is my storefront is up and has launched. So, really wanted to share that with you. And very important. It's been, and it's all part of the whole change topic, actually. Not that necessarily just, um, going about pushing my product, which I wish to. I want to get a plug. That's okay. We definitely want to do that. But at the same time, the reason to that is I bring it up at the start of this topic is because it represents quite a lengthy process and a, a time of commitment to get it there. So I really wanted to let everybody know about it. Not to think, but just that perseverance. My goodness, perseverance, perseverance, perseverance. And it's also available. You can get it um, through my through. Let me actually through my website at gendrakes.com. So if you go there, you'll be able to see the my store, and I'm proudly saying it because, as I said, it has been represents complete perseverance and diligence to not be stopped. Um, so I wanted people to recognize that, right? I want people to know that what I'm always pushing everyone to do is keep going, believe, keep going. And that's really what the message is all about. And yes, I'm very proud of it, and yes, I'm very happy, and yes, I went through all the steps, and reached out to one person, didn't work, reached, tried to get support, um went through the whole gamut, some of, but here it is, it finally happened, and it's launched, and I'm really excited. So I want to share that with you. But the bigger message is, don't let anybody tell you that you can't. I hate that word can't. So don't let people tell you you can't. Just do, just do, just do. And you'll be, these are all the miracles I keep saying. When you get on your journey and you're committed to your journey and you are taking, I don't care if it's a baby step, a mini baby step, a large step, a massive step, it doesn't matter. As long as you're committed to that journey, things fall into place and it all works out. And I want people to know this. So that's why I'm calling out the fact that my storefront is up with amazing products that I handpicked and checked and validated that they were, quality products and really happy to receive them. And they had a message and they had a purpose and they were moving my divine tastical living movement along. It's a long time coming, and I'm just relieved and happy with the end result. But it couldn't happen in my time. It had to happen in the divine time. And I had to accept that maybe 2 years ago wasn't the right timing, and this time was, and that, Marin, who helped me with it and everything, was the right connection I needed, who's got my back, and I've got his back, and it's a really team effort. And here we are with a launch store, and I am forever grateful. And I am excited. And I hope you will at least check it out and let me know your thoughts. You can get it off of my website, jendrakes.com. And I'm just trying to get the right URL because I don't even know. That's to show you how unprepared I came in. I wasn't here to think. I just wanted to let you know that that was there. And just wanted to share that, right? Just wanted to share that. So you can find it off my website, which is also, I guess I would say it's the preferred way to go through. I'm not sure. But anyway, there's my website. Good for you guys to know that as well, because that's, oh, I didn't even do it right. One sec. Ugh, let me redo it. Now, obviously that's wrong, right? Type in error. Oh, my goodness. Plus, I'm half blind. So you can imagine, right? So jendrakes.com. 2 N's in the Jendrakes. So there we go. I've sent it out now properly. And let me see if I can delete the wrong ones. Of course not, right? So let me put up the right one. I can show that. There we go. jendrakes.com. And that off of jendrakes.com, it will take you to my storefront with amazing products. So support, please support, subscribe, get the news of new products as they release, because new products are always planned and will be added, and new departments will be added. And awesome about that. Ignore the wrong ones. Some can be deleted and some can't be deleted. I don't know. Anyway, I've got the right ones up now, so thank you for that. It seems like YouTube, I can't delete it off. So I don't know. I can't delete it off of YouTube, but I can. YouTube has the right one, and Facebook has the right one. So ignore the typo. Okay, so anyway, here we are. So let's get the topic going. Thank you very much. I've also launched the Divine Tastical Living Institute, which is the institute with all the courses on it. The courses, I'm starting to add more courses and everything, because it's all about life strategies. It's all about how we're living. And now I want to revert to the real topic of this stream, which will go on for a while, about change. So nobody likes change, right? I can't say I hate change. I'm used to change. I've always delivered change out. And when I was heavily in technology, still, I delivered change to staff and to companies and corporations, and transformation and business re-engineering, whatever language you put against it. I used to do that. So I'm used to change. Change does not necessarily perturb me or disturb me. I kind of look at it and say, what's the opportunity in change? Because in every change, there's opportunity. And it's really all about your mindset and your perspective on how you choose to look at change. So I'm here to try to tell you that, yes, we react to change. Absolutely, we all react to change. But if you take a moment and not just go into the reaction, but try to understand the context around the change, and look for the opportunity and change, you'd better weather change. So a change comes in all sorts of facets. And even I go through the struggle as my brand is growing, as you know, um, I'm continuing to go out there in bigger and bigger ways. And as that happens, I have a change reaction. My goodness, I'm human. It's human to have these reactions. I have a change reaction. I'd be lying to you if I told you I didn't have a change reaction. Uh, but I've learned to, somewhat similar to fear. When we talk about fear, fear is always present there. And it's okay to acknowledge the fear, just as it's okay to acknowledge your reaction to change. But then to sit back, calm your breathing, calm your everything down, and start to look at it, understand, get the information, understand the context to the change, and determine if the change is for you or not for you. And if it's not for you, why is that? Start to explore that a little bit. And we all have that. And some people don't like change. There's some people that absolutely don't like change. And even to be self-aware enough to recognize that, then you can manage your reaction and your response to change. And I think that's what it's all about, is your the management of it, and the management of your response, and knowing that there's so many different facets to it, right? I just announced two major changes to me and in what I'm doing, and that's a storefront's now open. So guess what? That means customers. That means responsibility. That means making sure my products are top notch. That means making sure my message is there, that people understand the intent of those products. I have a product with lead with love. The, if you follow me, you'll begin to understand why that message is there. Lead with love. That's what I truly believe, is that the ultimate state that we need to reach is that of love. Love in everything, love in people, love in animals, love in nature, love in everything. And just the first step forward is from that perspective, so that you can listen, and your heart is opened up to understand people and understand they're not necessarily their behavior, and to embrace them with acceptance first, and then go from there. So that everything, that's a responsibility I now have. I'm accountable for that. So that's a change, but it's an embracing change. It's a change I can embrace, I can support, because it's fundamentally who I am. And so you need to find that those fundamentals of yourself, and live by them, be authentic with them, be exponential with it. And if there's change you're not embracing, if there's something, a nagging, what I call it, your God spark, if it's nagging you and telling you to take a step and you don't want to take the step, then it goes back to the decision episode that I did in my podcast. And it goes back to, you've taken a decision not to go forward. And is that really the decision that you want? Because it means then that you're not necessarily going to pursue what your God spark is telling you need to pursue. And even as I move forward with my actions and goals and everything, I had those step back moments. I had the reaction of putting your feet in what you thought was warm water, only to find out it's bloody cold water. And you have this, this this reaction backwards, where you pull your foot out and you're going, I can't go in, I can't go in, it's too cold. And once you calm that reaction and you go in, yes, it's cold, but after a while you find, okay, it's not as bad as I thought initially it was. And I think a lot of times life's journey is those types of things, where you react and you make a decision not to pursue. And that may not be the best decision, because that decision keeps you as you are. So it's all about these types of things of change, right? And we are in we are in changing times. I always talk about pre-COVID versus post-COVID. And if anybody's expecting things to go back to pre-COVID, I don't believe they would. I'm not going to tell you not to believe that. I'm not going to tell you not, if you're sitting there waiting for that, I'm not going to tell you not to make that decision, because the decision is ultimately yours. But I happen to believe that we're not going to go back to pre-COVID times, and that we are already in a state of change, and that this state of change is there, um, for the long term. Of course, we're always going to go through change. So I'm not going to say the forever word, but I'm saying we're in this change for the long haul. And that many of us need to stop and say, how do I proceed in this change? How do, in these change times, how do I proceed? Like, inflation's through the roof. I was listening just recently to this thing called boommates. I don't know if you've ever heard that language, boommates. It was the first time I heard it. I was listening to the broadcast, and the boommates broadcast really talks about seniors who are choosing now, for affordability purposes, to get roommates or house buddies that they rent rooms to and share the home with. And those decisions being on the rise, there's more and more seniors choosing this approach, because their retirement funds may not go as far as they thought. But this is because to also inflationary times. Let's face it, you go and pick up now to the grocery store and you pick up six things, and Lord forbid that they're anything organic based, and you've got $100 bill, and you think, what did I buy for $100? Right? You're thinking, what in the world? What did I pick for this amount of money? So inflation's on the rise. And the absolute truth is that people are struggling. That's the truth. Whether they're telling you, whether they're sharing that with you, whether they're transparent about it or just putting on facades, the reality is, especially when you hear these types of reports and you hear the people in these situations talking about how they got into these situations, and some of them are good news stories. Don't think that it's all plight. No, some of them are good news stories, and that it's working out. It's really working well for them. And some are opposed to it, saying they'll never share their home with strangers. And, whichever side, it doesn't matter. The point is that more and more people are making these choices, which tells you more and more people are struggling in these times, whether they're telling you or not. That's our reality. And what do you do about that? How can how can people, they're beginning to get into survival mode, and they're choosing options they would probably not normally choose. But some of these choices, whether difficult, whether they went into it screaming or not, the beautiful point is some of these stories have beautiful endings and beautiful summations and beautiful outcomes of friendship and companionship and support, and not being left to your own devices and be in your own head because you don't have somebody to talk to or to cook with or to, just have that companionship. So some of them are great news stories, and some perhaps not. But the message is that making those types of decisions are based on starting out with financial intents and then finding that the finances no longer matter, because what was built means more than the finance. The relationship that was built, the companionship that was built, all of a sudden puts the financial initial intent at the bottom of the pile. And that's beautiful stories. And it's just a thing of change, and whether you embrace the change and the intention with which you went into the change has a lot to do with how the change comes out. There was one lady in a broadcast had no intention of ever doing it. I could not even see herself that way. And as I said, these decisions are very personal decisions, but a lot of times these decisions are birthed from a point of struggle. And it seems more and more of us are struggling in silence. And I'm not sure that's the best way to do it, because there's still the concept of community, of church, of neighborliness, and things of that nature. That if we step onto those, depending on our values, we can probably birth something beautiful as well. It just depends on how you look at change and how you're willing to cope in the midst of change. So I'm just going to take, for all those joining me, I'm also, I'm Jen Drake's creator of the Divine Tastical Living concept and movement, uh, a board certified and designated master coach, which puts me in an elite group of coaches that can guarantee results in 42 countries. It also holds me to a high level of ethics and accountability, being board designated for results and outcomes. So if you need help, by all means, reach out. I will put the email also. I will, and I'm just writing the email. It's Jen at You Are Worth More, and certainly you are. Dot co. So not dot com, dot co. So you are worth, Jen at You Are Worth More, and there I put it up. youareworthmore.com. Please reach out, get support uh, as well. My my designations are neurolinguistic programming, timeline therapy, also known as creating your future, as well as hypnotherapy. So jump on. I'm on Wisdom. If jump on, if you want to be a guest and join the chat, please, I invite you to. You're more than welcome. It's always better talking to someone else than just talking to yourself. But as a streamer, I'm able to do that as well. So we're talking about the different facets of change. There's change. We're always embraced by change, always. Even as we sleep, our bodies change, right? Our old cells die off, new cells are developed. So when you wake up in the morning, I always say it's a new you, because you actually changed at a cellular level. So, you know, even even if you had a bad day previously, you can wake up to a whole new day. And I think, how exciting is that? I saw Darrell, you following me. Thank you so much. Appreciate all the follows, please. Yes. Follow. I guess it's waiting. Oh, I wanted, why did you jump off? Jump back on and join me. I saw you there. I was about to hit and then you jumped off. So if I missed you, please jump on, and I'm really glad to have you on and we can talk. So, oh, there we go. Hey, Doral, how are you doing? Thank you for following me. Hey, yes. How are you doing? Oh, thank you so much. It's good to have you on, and thank you for following me. I always appreciate, we can't do any of this without support. So. Oh no, I'm used to it. I always say my gift is that of of speaking and writing and influencing. So speaking has never been an effort for me from the child. But it's always better to just chat, especially in this forum, to have somebody. So I really appreciate you joining. So tell me, what do you join? What do you want to talk about? I'll talk. My topic is the many facets of change. So are you someone that embraces change, or you have this kind of visceral gut reaction to change? Like, oh no, where do you fall on that spectrum? Oh, interesting. Oh, so you're being a pioneer. Yeah. Yep. Hmm. Oh, absolutely. And if you, I know you probably weren't following me for a while, but one of the changes, I'll talk to you about that. One of the changes that all through COVID, I was calling out, we are in the midst of a massive, massive change. You could feel it. I kept saying you could feel it in the ear. You can feel it in the rhythms of the earth. Like you could literally feel we were in this massive pivot of change beyond COVID. I'm not, beyond the everybody. Many people were so focused on the do we call COVID a disease, on the virus? So focused on the virus itself that it was, if you were focused on the virus and everything like that, you could miss the beat of change that was happening. And I actually believe we have made like a very huge churn to a changed state that we're all living in, and we're never going to go back to pre-COVID. That's what I believe. I'm not saying everybody has to believe it with me, but I'm saying that we are in that midst of change, and I'm wondering what you think of that. And when you say being in front of the change, what change do you believe you're in front of? Mm-hmm. Wisdom, wisdom. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So give me an example of something, Daryl. Give me an example of something that you think is coming down the pipe that few people, if you're willing to go down this line of discussion, just as people are listening, they're gonna go, what is he talking about, right? Because, and the reason I say that, because there's times when I have said things, And I said, this is coming, and people look at you like you're crazy. They say it's never going to happen, blah, blah, and then it happens, and they come back and they go, Jen, you were right. So give me an example of something that you think, simple, big, doesn't matter, that you think is coming down the pipe that not a lot of people seem as if they're aware of or seem to believe that. What, just if you were to pick one, what would it be? Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're right. It's okay. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, and I'm gonna bring it into to because you went big picture, which is fine. No issues there. But just for those listening, I really want to express kind of what some of the more, just to come down. I'm gonna chunk it down a little bit, just so that people can start to grasp some of the things that you talked about. So one of the things that you talked about was flooding and which really comes down to some climate change things will cascade to more tangible outcomes than we are seeing now. It's already starting, whether you talk about the melting of the icebergs and creating more higher water levels and all these sort of things. You see some of those things come out. But in a practical sense, especially when we start talking about technology, anybody in 2022 that has made a decision, and the reason I say it that way, Dara, because I believe everything we do is a decision, right? That has made a decision not to keep up with technology or not to be technology capable, right? Is doing themselves a disservice that they could be left behind, because technology now is ramping up. The speed of which technology is changing is ramping up so quickly that if you haven't kept up, it's going to be very easy to be left behind. So those are one of the changes that I see, right? um every child, every young adult, every mature adult, as much as possible, needs to be in tune with the change of technology. And it's, go ahead. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Apologies there. I just my I don't want my phone to die, so I went and got the plug. I thought, um, yeah. So yeah, so you know, you want to say how can I bring people along and for them to understand the implication of this, so that they are at least, at least give themselves an up to function, to stay current, and to catch up. It doesn't mean you have to be an expert. You, you know what I mean? It's not that you have to be an expert in these things, but you definitely need to try to just stay close to it, that you won't be left behind. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's another change that we have to go through.
Exactly. Well, you've hit a good point, because and then the other thing too is, when we even look at it at the democratic level, to what degree do we still hold democracy, right? Because it's going more capitalist than democratic. So there's so many changes, and one of the things I think, that when we say people are pressurized today, or feel pressurized, I think it's because the changes are hitting them from every direction and more rapidly. And so they are reacting to the very change that you and I are talking about, that you can feel in the air and you can feel all around you, without sometimes being aware of it. And all of a sudden they are short tempered, or they're going to have road rage or something. You're thinking, what is going on? And it's because of that, right? It's because they are, exactly, they're actually being hit by it, and they don't know what it is they're being hit, and it's coming at them. So once it's political, the next one is environmental, the next one is social, the next one is this, the next one is inflation, the next one is in your pocket, it's housing. It's like it's just hitting them everywhere they turn, and people then are reacting.
Out, so I'll come right back up.
Okay. Right back up. All right. So we have this thing of change going on, and it's I feel like I get why people are short tempered. I get why people are feeling the way they feel, and I want them to find ways, um to manage it, to appreciate it, to reflect on it and understand, try to figure out, how does it impact me, right? I'm not saying go out and try and solve the world problems. I'm saying figure out where you fit in it, and where do you need to be able to weather it, just like you're talking about, Daryl. Because I think that's what you're talking about. You're saying get in tune, so that you are not your feet aren't swept from under you, and you land and you literally crash and burn as a result.
Right. You can either live within the change, live ahead of the change, or die as a laggard behind the change, and then you'll be subject to the punishment of not changing with the changers.
Exactly. And that's a choice. Everything you called out just
Yeah.
now, Daryl, is a
Yeah.
choice that
Yeah.
people have to make. You can play
Yeah.
ostrich and pretend, stick your head in the sand and say, nothing's changing and I'm fine. I've got my, I've got my big house, my 2 cars, whatever. You know what I mean? 3 car garage. It doesn't, you can do that and pretend nothing
Right.
is happening. But what I'm trying to call out is that there's a whole set of people across the globe that understands change is coming and are preparing for that change. And if you're one playing ostrich in the midst of that change, then you definitely will get your feet. And I think that get taking people by surprise, I personally feel is going to
Mhm.
start next year, 2023. That's why my brand's pushing so hard for people to start preparing now for 2023. Because if you don't start doing it, you're going to be surprised. Changes will be coming down the pipe starting 2023. And if you're not prepared, you're already going to go through surprise, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We
Yeah,
have
I don't have any dates to give out like a prophet, but I do think that you're either in a state of being changed, or you're ahead of the change, which is a good place to be. Is try to be ahead and prepared
exactly.
as best you can for the inevitable, or else you're a laggard and you're going to be affected by the change, and maybe it's not going to be a great way. And I think it's always best to try to put things always, in your favor as best as possible. We can't predict the future. Nobody can fully predict that. But
Right.
if we can leverage, and try to make things as successful for ourselves as possible by having planned out the change and be aware of the change and ready for the change as best you can, I think that's a better strategy. But thank you for having me, Jen. I look forward to catching you on other talks, and maybe you join me on one of my deeper thinking lounges that I have from time to time on
Absolutely.
here.
Absolutely. So thank you for joining. I appreciate it. As I said, it always is good to chat with someone and to get different perspectives, because it can't all be mine. And it's not so much that I'm trying to predict. I'm just saying there's a lot of things now, conversion, that I think will start to bubble starting from 2023. But let's see what happens. I just want people to be prepared. I want people not to be surprised. So thank you, Daryl, so much for joining, and yeah, let's chat another time.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jen.
Okay.
We'll talk soon.
All right. Ciao. So that was Daryl. Thank you, with some very interesting perspectives, and he's touching on technology, so he gets to see a little ahead how technology will change, and how it could potentially change our lives. I remember when I was in technology as well, because I have a technology background, and the debit machine. I was one of them that got to see the debit machine in its early tests stages. And I remember when I saw this, I thought, this is going to change people's lives. Oh my God, this is going to be quite fundamentally a game changer. And look, lo and behold, many years later, they definitely was a game changer. So he gets to see that firsthand in the work that he does. So some great insights there. Thank you again, Daryl. I look forward to our next conversation. So yeah, so the many facets of change. You're here with Jen Drake's speaking on, in her stream, in my stream, I'm talking about change, and just the many ways it comes, and the many ways we look at it and deal with it. And I described some people playing ostrich. They don't want to deal with it, and others can run to change and embrace it, and then others are a little leery, kind of slow the roll, slow down. Just many ways. And we are human, and everyone is different and unique. So you need to understand, and that comes with self-awareness, how you deal with change. How do you deal? And you can change how you deal with change, by the way, just so you know. But to at least start the thing of understanding, how do I feel when I'm faced with change. And it might depend on the type of change. So some changes you might be quite okay with, and other changes not so much, because some changes more drastic than others. So we're talking about all of that. And by all means, if you want to jump in and have your discussions, curious to know what you thought about some of the things you've heard, and where your mind is on what's going on in today's world, with especially something like artificial intelligence. The other day I was talking about artificial intelligence, and many people are scared by that, and wonder, one of the things that people wonder is, to what degree will it impact what some people do. So for example, you go in the grocery stores, and all of a sudden you have more self checkouts than you have cashiers, right? All of a sudden, I know one of the stores I went into, they used to have something like 15 cashier lines, and now the self checkout has taken over, and now they're down, drastically reduced the amount of cashier, the cash out lines with an actual human body. And that's a change that has happened. Walmart, when we go into Walmarts, I think the last Walmart I went into, they had maybe 4 cash out cashiers, and I think only 2 of them was functioning. So they had 4 stations, 2 functioning, and everything else was self checkout. So there's a fundamental change that's already happening, that if it continues in that way, one has to consider that the role of a cashier in the traditional way goes away, and all of a sudden stores are primarily dominated by self cash out. And then with the inflation, a friend and I was talking the other day too, and we noticed that even if you use a cart, there's less and less that you're seeing where the carts are piled high. And instead, people are taking less items. So they go to the self cash out because it's quicker when they have less items than waiting in line to cash 5 things or whatever. So there's patterns of change that we are seeing. This is one I just call out. If you're seeing the same thing, am I am I seeing things right or not? I'd be love somebody to jump on and tell me if I am seeing things right or not. I didn't but things are changing as we speak, right under, in my mind, right under our very eyes. And I see the role of a cashier definitely now reducing. And in fact, it's funny because someone I knew used to be a cashier at a grocery store. And I said that to them. I said, just be careful, because I don't see how much longer. I'm curious how long that role will stay, and they'll start to need less and less cashiers. And they got out of that, not because of what I said, of course, but they did eventually get out of it, because it was more like a student job, but didn't want them to really settle, especially as a young person, thinking they could settle there, because I saw that change occurring. And as I said, it's becoming more and more. And that same store modernized, which is interesting. That same store modernized, and of course more went with a self checkout and have less cashier stations. So it's definitely happening, and that was the same store that they were working at when I told them that. So now I see less and less of the cashiers, and I don't know if they've dispersed them among more stores, or they've let them. I Who knows, but it's definitely less than what was there before. So we are in changed times. I was going to say changing times, but I believe they're changed times. And as I said, please jump on and let me know your thoughts. I'm happy to hear what you think. But this is why we need to get on the bandwagon, look at your skill sets, truly assess them, say, look at your role now. Do you feel secure in the roles that you're doing, or do you see them becoming more diminished? And if they are indeed becoming diminished, just pause and ask, what does it mean for me? What do I need to do to make sure I'm not sideswiped, right? Into obsolescence, and get the skills you need now as the change is happening, so that you can transition, so that you can get ahead. Because I'm all about your worth. I'm all about you having value. I'm all about you grabbing hold of your, what I call your God spark, recognizing it, and then just soaring, just soaring. If you read my book, Aladdin Carpets, which you can find on Amazon, or you, because I'm doing once a month on my podcast, I'm reading a chapter to the book. If you want to hear it in auditory form, you can go and listen to my podcast as well, which again you can get off of my website, jendrakes.com. But that talks about soaring. That talks about starting to take hold and do self reflection and look at you and work on you to get you ahead and to soar and to, really take off in big ways, leveraging your purpose, or your, what I call your God spark. And of course, in order to say that, I believe all of us has it. All of us has a God spark that we need to tap into and leverage. So, how do you do that? How do you prepare for what you need to do to soar? How do you start to tap into the potential of you? And I truly believe all of us has potential. We all have gifts. I just named with Daryl what my gifts were, which is speaking, writing, and influencing. And we all have something. And are we using it? Are we leveraging it? And I trust me, you are. You're probably taking it for granted if you don't think you are. You just do it. You don't think about doing it because you've been doing it your whole life. As I said, I've been talking my whole life. To the point in high school, my yearbook has BBM, which stood for Big Blabbermouth. And I was always doing something to help, uplift and support underserved individuals, even in high school. So it's always been in my life. But look at the age that I decided to do my pivot from um, a career and do this type of thing and stream and write a book and publish a book and get my poetry out there and all these things, do my a podcast. When I saw a podcast, I fell in love with podcasts, and I can't imagine that not being part of my life. So when you, whatever it is, if you feel I don't know what I should be doing, I know I'm not completely happy, or I'm not completely fulfilled, and you don't know quite what, can't put your finger on, pause a minute and say, what has always been that common thread in my life that I do without thinking? I just do it. I don't know. Is it cooking? Um is it support? Is it being a provider? Is it community work? Is it um experiences, lived experiences that you had that gave you lessons, that is guiding you? Whatever that is, this is the time to really pause and stop just running through a daily routine, but really pause and start to reflect and connect, into your God's, into your God spark. Because for me, divinity is within, hence divine tastical living as a concept and a movement. Because I believe, that God spark talks to you. It appeals to you to come out, to do things. And you can bury it, you can push it aside. For me, it got so loud. The message got so loud, the urgency, it got into an urgency. I could not ignore it, that I could do more. And I want you to tap into that and really reach for your potential, because at the end of the day, reaching for your potential and choosing you and rising up is a choice. They're all choices. They're all decisions that we get to make. Which one will you make? That's the bottom line. Which one will you make? So I want you, coming up to the top of the hour, I'm gonna change it up to a choice to change, a choice based on choosing you, based on tapping into your potential. I'd love to hear from someone jumping on telling me, what has always been something they hope they would do, but they don't think they can do because of whatever. I would love for somebody to jump on and tell me, Jen, I think I can do this. I just don't know how to get started. So if you do, please jump on and be a guest, and let's chat about it. Or if you just discovered it and you're in your startup, you're starting out, and I'd love to talk about how it's bringing you joy and excitement. And is it the path that you want to stay on? And we all do it in two ways. Like, I'm juggling two things to keep going and to do what I'm doing now. So it doesn't mean that you shut down one and you fill up another. If you can do that, great. But sometimes it just means starting baby steps and juggling some things until you get where you need to be, and then start letting some of those other things go. So just really, jump on, talk to me about the many facets of change. What change have you recently gone through, or what changes are you going through that seems so difficult, perhaps, or maybe not so difficult. Maybe you're just rocking it. Then rock, keep rocking. If you're rocking change, keep rocking. I commend you. I'm happy for you. But if you're one that isn't rocking change so much, then what perspectives can you go into that change with that will make it more manageable, make it more palatable, make it more doable, that you can achieve the change and come out on the good side of the change? Perfect example of a life change that happens all the time is like divorce. Divorce is a massive change. It really is. And sometimes it changes your living circumstance, it changes your monetary circumstance, it changes your family circumstances. It hits some pretty heavy pieces. So that's a change that it can be rough or it can be smooth. It really depends on your mindset, your perspective, and your approach to it. And, you know, life will throw you some lemons and you make lemonade, and sometimes life will take you through some amazing ups and some not so amazing downs. But as long as you can get back up and climb back up out of the trench, then it's okay. And then once you get out of the trench, pause and say, what lessons did I learn? Because you probably needed to learn those lessons. And the lessons that you're learning when you climb out of the trench is probably what you need to drive forward your potential. So not all of us look at it that way, but I'm all about changing your perspective to change your life. I am. That's the subtitle of my the Aladdin Carpets book. Change perspective to change your life, and change perspectives really do have the power to change your life. And I'm all about not wallowing in the you know in the down, or not wallowing in the lack of nicety sometimes that life hands you, but finding a way through, finding a way around. And it's, we all deal with this. We all sometimes get thrown back, and sometimes it's a matter of taking 3 steps forward and 2 steps back, because we're human. Welcome to that reality. Welcome to that reality. And sometimes it's one step forward and one step back, or sometimes it's two steps back and six steps forward. It doesn't, it just depends on how you wish to, what perspective you wish to apply to your situation. So, you know, the change is going to happen. Change happens every second. Even as I'm talking, it's changing, right? The video was, whatever, was hour, was a minute ago, and in that minute now something changed. It's changing by the seconds, 15, 16, 17, it's changing by the second, this stream. So change is always occurring, whether we feel we see it or choose to see it or not. So you are always in a change state, as far as I'm concerned. So it's just getting comfortable with it. It's just recognizing that and going, yeah. It's just like when I talked about decisions, I said, we're always making decisions. I made a decision to turn on my cameras today and go live. I made a decision to talk to you for X amount of time. That's a decision I made. We're always making decisions. I can take a decision and go, I'm done. I've had enough. I am closing down this stream. No, I don't want to do that because I have a commitment to do this stream. I have a message. I have something to say. I want to help people. I want to support you. And I want you to know that change can be palatable. Change can be endured because we are always enduring it. We always are. Tomorrow when I wake up, I will have new strands of hair. I will have, some cells that I need to wash away that have died, and now new ones came, and I want to show the newer cells. It's always changing. Even as we sleep, something's changing. That's why when we wake up, we've got to brush our teeth, because the context of our teeth as we slept changed. So we have to brush away what came on our teeth as we slept. We are always dealing with change. They may seem like drastic examples, but they're truthful, realistic examples that we can relate to. Right? Change is always there when you get up and you put on, for the women that put on, whoever puts them, because it doesn't have to be just women, but you get up, you put on makeup, you've changed. You go in the bath and you bathe, you've changed. And then you put on new clothes, that's a change. It just is how we look at it. It really is. And sometimes we need to take it down to the simplistic level to be able to appreciate that. Because if we try to look at it as holistic, then it's when we start to resist change. And change is good. And it can be. Right? It's not always a bad thing. So even when you're faced with divorce, it's not always a bad thing if you are prepared to look at it in a different light, if you're prepared to look at it in a different way. It may be all right. And as far as I know, as hard as it is to go through the process of the change, many people who have an ex later tells you several years later that had to happen, was meant to happen, and they were okay with it. But going through it, unless you're prepared to put that mindset and say, okay, why am I going through this? What do I need to learn? How will I come out of this? Is when you can start to then look at it from a point of appreciation, not from a point of suffering or victimization or, oh, woe me, woe me, woe me, woe me. In the group that of coaches that I'm with, they always do this. Whoa, me. Yeah. So I'll do that for you. But and I always smile when they do that. But it just depends on how you choose to look at life. And at the end of the day, it's all about life. And we've got to live our life, and we only have one to live. And we can either live it fully by embracing the many different paths, nuances, experiences, and embracing those things and saying, where do I fit? How do I fit? How does it meet with what I'm trying to achieve, accomplish, and go, and really go the journey as a journey of experience. And that's how I see, and even when I talk about my practice and what I'm all about, I say I'm delivering experiences. This listening to me today, joining me, listening to me is an experience. I would like to hope and that it's a positive experience, and I choose to look at it that way. Or I can sit here and go, "Oh, I'm here by myself and I'm going to have to talk and I don't no, no, no. Absolutely not. Let me shake that off." Who wants that? No, I'm here to empower you, motivate you, give you nuggets to think about, little breadcrumbs to start thinking about and start reflecting on. So I don't want that. I don't want to get into that nonsense. No, when I turn my stream on or turn my lives every day on that I do, or even to do my podcast, I am there. I am committed. I am in the zone. I am delivering out my message. And I want you to hear the message. I want you to listen and go, yes, yes, I got that message and it helped me in this way or that way or in some form. And as I always say, if I touch one person to think differently or to see their life differently and in different perspectives, then I've done my job. That's the reason I'm here. And this gift of speaking that I have been blessed with, I hope moves you. And I thank everybody joining me and listening to me and supporting me. Thank you so much because I truly am humble in that. And everything is to get you going and moving in a direction that shapes you and to shape your life, changes your perspective to change your life, empowers you to change your life, empowers you to reach for more, empowers you to think of you with value. And if you were to put a value on you, what would that value be? Because if you're not valuable to you, how can you expect to be valuable to others? So hold the space, hold your own space, and let that holding of that space be one of value and worth. Because that's what I truly believe is you are worth more. And if you put $1 million on your worth, I say you are worth more. If you put 5 cents on your worth, I say you're worth more. If you go somewhere in the middle and say I'm worth 100,000, I will say you are worth more. Because I truly believe that you are. I truly believe that you are, and I want you to see that, and I want you to reach for the stars, the cosmos, the universe when you talk about you. And it's not from selfish point of view, it's not from egotistical point, it's not from, over, it's just that your cup, this is how I always describe it, your cup needs to flow. Your cup needs to be filled up and overflowing so you can take some of that overflow to help others. So every time I go to speak, every time I go to write something down for you to read, it is based on an overflowed cup so that everything flows into what I'm doing to serve you, to help you, to guide you, to support you. So thank you. I just want to remind everyone you are here with Jen Drakes. The topic is the many facets of change. And we are always changing. And in this new hour going into the next hour of this stream, I will talk about how we change. One facet of our change is aging, right? One facet of our change is we age. We're here for one life to live it fully, and we age. Like it or not, we age. I will never tell anybody that I like the aging process. You will never hear that from me. But I choose to try to do it as gracefully as I can, as positively as I can, you know. But that's a area of change that we go through. So, young people who think they have their whole life ahead, I tell them, do not waste your youth. My gosh, do not waste it. Try to do something with your youthfulness, with the age that you have. Because if you try to do something while you are young, by the time you reach a certain age, you would not believe how much you would have achieved. And if you waste your youth, that's when you're trying to play catch up. So, age is something to think about. I always think about the song 525,600 minutes. I believe that's the number. And correct me if I'm wrong, by all means. One of my favorite songs, though, it is one of my favorite songs. And it really puts things in perspective because that's how many minutes we have in a year. The song talks about how many minutes there is in an actual year. And, when we start to think about that and then we look at that's a lot of minutes in a lifetime, and we start to break it, chunk it up now to like, okay, that's minutes. So what about hours? And we start to look at hours. What about days? And we start to look at days. What about years? Um, that's when we start to realize that there's so much time at our disposal. And if you're really from the framework of not wasting a moment, furthermore, a minute, furthermore, an hour, furthermore, a day, then you get into the mindset of maximization and maximizing every possible moment that you have. How cool is that? How exciting is that? To maximize every moment. So when people say, I don't have enough time, what are you doing with your time? How much of it is actually used in ways that further you, grow you? How much is it? And one of the examples that I like to use is I don't like rush hour. And I'm an early riser and I don't like rush hour. So I put the two together and leverage my early rising to, if I have to go out in the morning, I try to get out ahead of rush hour so that I minimize the time I'm stuck on some highway or stuck in, you know, traffic, because that is a waste of time. Or it can be, unless you're doing something more like, if you're going to go and listen to some and listen to a podcast or listen to something, while it may not be as wasted, much wasted a time, but still I don't want to do it. So I make sure to get up early. Well, I'm up early anyway, and I make sure to get ready. And I don't care if I get where I'm going and I'm an hour ahead of schedule or thing. The time does go very quickly. I will sit, I will write, I will read, I will, browse, I will, go get tea and some, tea and crumpets, if you want to call it that. I'll do something to pass the time. But guess what? Guess what happens when I do that? I'm still maximizing the time I have. I am not wasting it stuck in traffic and getting frustrated of cars moving, you know, not like a little minuscule distance every minute. I'm not, and I make that choice. It's a decision. Again, we come back to decisions. It's a decision again. And I consciously make that decision because I don't like, and I asked, even in my book of Land Carpets, I was one of the questions. If you don't like morning traffic, why are you in it? Right? And then, God forbid, there's an accident. And then what was already a bad thing turns into worse. So, but we've got to make those types of choices and decisions based on being aware of ourselves. And I know I don't like it. I know it doesn't start my day right. I know it probably puts me in less of an optimal mood. So I don't put myself in those situations. I really don't. So again, I ask you, what will it take for you to make certain decisions to make your life more reasonable, to make your life simpler, to make your life happier, to make your life more contented? Because I get to set my day. I get to set the intention of my day, and I get to live the intention of that day because I made sure it doesn't start the wrong way. And that's a choice. So what choices would you make? All right? What choices would you make? So if anyone that is listening to me wants to jump on, please jump on. I'd love to chat it up with some others, um, to join me and just chat. And I thank everybody who's joined and listening. So how do we make those types of changes, recognizing, and we're talking about the agent side of change, to take de-stress us, to make sure we're not always in stressful situations. Like, one thing I think, I used to travel downtown every day, um but since COVID I haven't had to do that. But I went downtown because there was a restaurant that I liked downtown, and I missed their food, and I said I'm gonna go and get their food. So I went downtown. And would you believe, I didn't realize when I did that drive, it's about a 20-minute drive, but it took, even off rush hour, it took actually 45 minutes to get there. And I had forgotten how, I didn't even realize I was doing this every day. And only after COVID, and I went then to get, I realized how stressful that drive was. I was stressed from the time. Oh my goodness, I was stressed. And I said to myself, I said, oh my God, I never realized what I was doing to myself. Doing this every day. What I was doing to myself. It was so stressful. I had 45 minutes in stress, another 10 or 15 minutes finding a way to park or to even stop to be able to go into the restaurant and get the food I had ordered, then to get back in the vehicle and have a 45-minute drive back. I never went again. I haven't gone again, seriously, because it suddenly was within my awareness what I had been doing to my body and to myself in what I call now a rat race, right? A rat race that doesn't serve you. And we do it and we don't realize it. It's affecting our health, it's affecting our mindset, it's affecting how our mood and our decorum and our all this type of stuff is affecting us. So how do you come to realize those things and make a different choice, or make, choose things that you need to manage that whole thing because you recognize that's what's happening? I was able to come back, and then I went to the gym and de-stressed, and all of that. But what if we're not doing that? What if we don't have that lifestyle? What lifestyle do you need to create to make sure that you are self-caring for this vessel we're in, and for the fact that we're not getting any younger? And I'm not talking about, don't even think, don't go there. I'm not telling you blow up your life. That's not what I'm telling you to do. I'm saying become aware. I'm saying become more in tune with the lifestyle you're living that possibly might be introducing stress and other things to this body that you're in without you really realizing it, because you're just accepting it as normal and routine. That's what I'm talking about. How do we change that? How do we come to recognize that? That's what I'm talking about. So we've got to find a way to be truthful about that, to be honest, to be able to say, I want something different. And if you want something different and you're not actually taking action to get something different, is it fear of change? Is it the unknown of that choice? Is it the unknown of what's going to come out of making a decision to change something? And we all go through this. We all go through it. I've spent a long time building a lifestyle, and I'm even at the next level of wanting a different type of lifestyle, getting really honed in on the lifestyle I want at this point in my life, at this age that I'm at this point in my life. I want a different lifestyle. And I am already thinking about that and already embracing what is required from a change perspective, what facet of change is needed to deliver the lifestyle I now want, because I don't want that lifestyle I just talked about stressing myself out in a car, going down, just, and back and forth and doing this like it's crazy. And I didn't realize how nuts that was. And I did that for years. Done that for years. It's not healthy. At least now, at this age that I'm at, I did not find that healthy. And so I never did it. I've never done it again. And I love the restaurant's food, but I'm not going down there again. Not that way. Not that way. So we're being hit with all sorts of things every day in many different ways. It's coming quicker. It's coming faster. And it's like, oh my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. How do we cope? How do we cope? What do you need to cope? That's what we have to ask ourselves. What do you need to cope? Right? Because it isn't easy. And life is not necessarily getting any easier. Not necessarily getting any easier. It might even be getting more complicated. That's for sure. It might be getting even more complicated. So if you want to join me as a guest, jump on, and we'll chat it up, chat it up, chat it up. What is it that we need? How do we deal with change? Because it's a new world. We are already in a changed state of the world, and the change will continue, will pick up, the pace will pick up. We see that already. We see technology running, running, running. Everything's changing. And change can be, change is good. Change can be good. It can be healthy. It just depends on how you look at it. Whether you're capable to embrace it or not. Whether you want to embrace it or not, that's a choice. It's a decision. But we definitely are changed. I happen not to believe that the pre COVID times will come back. Inflation is here to stay for a while. And as I talked about earlier, we talked about, we're seeing all sorts of changes. Those who are capturing the data seeing changes. I talked about boom mates. I listened to uh uh, sh- uh and a broadcast. Sorry, I listened to a broadcast today talking about boom mates, which are seniors now making decision to have roommates or house companions. So they're opening up their home, renting rooms or sharing the cost with strangers. And some are working out beautifully, some are not. These are all the things. So there's a platform that is available to join a senior that wants to do this with someone willing to do it with them. And they've seen such a spike in the amount of people using it. So we are in changed times. We have artificial intelligence getting better and more perfected as we go, right? And all sorts of platforms are, we have, NFTs and we have blockchain, and we have all these new technologies coming up that are showing us that the pace of technology is picking up, picking up, picking up, picking up. It seemed like just a short time before that we were talking about having phones that where we could see each other and talk like I'm talking to you now. And look here we are already, and even that technology is changing and getting more and more refined and more advanced, and all sorts of new things that you can do. So we have to decide, we have to step it up. We have to challenge ourselves to step it up, to step up our performance, step up our capability, step up our knowledge. And it all is on a basis of change. It's all on a basis of change. So again, I ask you, when you think of change, what does it mean for you? What is it? How do you deal with it? Because you're going to have to start figuring that out. And if you feel like you are always stressed, always angry, always anxious, always, if you feel, it's probably because you're sensing the magnitude of change that's hitting you day in and day out, and you don't know how to process it, or you don't how to cope. I always use this example. My mother has top of the line smartphone. She doesn't know how to use her smartphone. Why? Because she wasn't interested in technology. And now she's so far removed from technology, it is a steep learning curve for her as a senior. And every day we try to teach her different aspects of it. And she gets frustrated because it isn't sticking. But at the time when technology, this whole technology and internet was coming up, she was offered, like we offered to bring it into her home and to get her involved in it. And now she took too long. She kept saying, no, 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 I'm not interested, not interested. And now she has a new smartphone, a great smartphone, and she struggles on how to use it as effectively as she could. So this is, when we look, that's a senior for sure. Um, and we have to wonder what in the world will happen if we don't keep up. And it's easier for because youth are now are and young adult children are in the technology. We see 2-year olds with their own little iPads or their, so that's means they can keep up. But there's also a segment of the world that doesn't have access to technology, and there's a whole group of people trying to get broadband to help those and to get them involved in technology. And it's all because, in our heart, you know goes out to those, and praises are really needed for those that are in the trenches helping the broadband movement try to get technology to a set of areas. And some of them are in the states, and some are not, all of them are in third world countries. Some are right here in North America and other, you know G8 countries and stuff like that. So, but trying to make sure that these young kids get access, that are more on the lower economic frame, get access to technology, because if they don't, they get left behind. And those are things that, can keep me up at night sometimes thinking about that, because you don't want to leave anybody behind. We need to make sure our world, and Daryl talked about, mass extinction and stuff like that. And perhaps it's a scary language, but maybe we have to think about these sort of things, and what responsibilities do we have in that. And I'm not sure that we can. So we first have to look at ourselves and say, are we as up to date as we can be? Are we up to date? Or are, and when I say up to date, doesn't mean that you're going to be like Daryl, who I was speaking to earlier, in the coding of it or anything like that. But are we keeping ourselves in touch with technology so that we are not left behind? And if you aren't, what access can you get to get tied up into technology? And if you have kids, if you are an adult that doesn't have technology, and you have children and young children, do they have technology? And if they don't, how can you tie them into technology? Does it mean them going to the library and accessing the technology at the library? Does it mean them taking programs? Does it mean them, connecting with a community or a nonprofit that will help them touch technology, learn technology, get connected in some way so as not to be left behind? We have, We want to make sure that we everyone is getting a sense of technology, because I said all sorts of new things are coming along, and I'm using technology as an example, but I think it's in all, areas of our life. There's changes happening, and we have to keep up. We have to keep up with it. One aspect that we heard about, laws being passed, right, that are taking us backwards, really. Not some of them are taking us backwards. They're actually not taking us forward. How many are in touch with those types of things? Policies being developed that is may not be in our interest. Are we keeping in touch with that? We've got to make sure that we're on top. And before you can reach a hand out to bring somebody along, you've got to make sure that you're on top of things. So you need to look after, no different to in a no different to in I hit the wrong button, sorry there. No different to in an airplane. When the mask drops, they say you put on the mask first, then you look after the kids and put on the mask, or you help out others after that. The same concept is here. You need to look after you through self-care, self-awareness, creating an intimate relationship with yourself. Overflow your cup so that you can take the overflow and help others. So the question really still goes back to you. I always say at the end of the day, we're having a you conversation. How in tune are you? You know, how on top of things are you? How aware are you? Are you keeping up? Because at the end of the day, this conversation about change is all about, are you keeping up? And not going, I am not interested. My life is all good. I ain't interested in what change is going out there. Because are you prepared to leave people behind or see people left behind? And if you weren't, what are you doing to make sure that you are able to reach that hand out because you're good? Right? Are you able to talk to people and kind of say, you do realize all this type of change is happening? All these types of new things are coming in. Right? A colleague of mine who's a CPA, one of the things that he strongly believes and he tries to talk to his colleagues about and get them aware is that even the role of a CPA will change as a result of where things are going. And if you're a CPA listening to me, imagine one of your own colleagues who feels that that is something, that the role as you know it of an accountant, the role that you know of an or will change based on other changes happening, some of them technological, some of them societal, some of them economic, that the role of a CPA will change. And the role I called out that maybe 5 years ago started out very slow change is now picking up. And that's the role of a cashier, because I call that one out because we see that every day because we go in a grocery store. And even, oh, let me talk about that. We say we go in a grocery store, but there's a lot of people not going in grocery stores. They're actually just going online and ordering their stuff to come to their door. So even that's a massive change that we're seeing, where some people are simply do not need to step out of their door to get their groceries. And those who don't do that may not see the change that I talked about earlier in the grocery store, where there's now more self checkout lane, right? Checkout, what do you call them? Points than cashier and a physical human being there cashing out your groceries. That is now, it is different now. There's some stores I walk into, and sometimes I think I'm the only one in the store because I don't see anybody at the cash And you're not even seeing anybody there to help you. You're calling out, is somebody here? And then all of a sudden you see somebody come from the back, or somebody come from a particular department, and you're like, oh, where's everybody? Oh, it's just me, or it's only two of us on the floor. Have you seen that? Because I've seen that. I've walked in store and the whole cash is there, just empty. Nobody's behind that. And then when you buy something, then you talk to them, you get what you need, and then you walk up, and then they come behind the cash. But so gone are the days where you'd have multitude of people, some at the cash and some on the floor, and in the different departments, the shoe area or the clothes area or whatever. You don't see that. You're seeing it less and less. Now, is that because people don't want those jobs? I don't know, but I'm telling you, there's a change because I've been seeing those changes. And one other change, as I called out, people are ordering stuff online now. There is no need to even step out your door to go to groceries. So change is there. Change is there. So how are you prepared for the change? How do you prepare for the change? How does this change affect you? How does it make you feel? How does it make you feel? Is disconcerting? That's the word I would put on it. Disconcerting. And so you have to make a commitment to yourself not to be on the wrong side of the change, not to be on the wrong side, but to get on the right side. And there's a lot of things you need to do to get on the right side. And that's something you need to start figuring out for you. New world. And with it comes a new you. We have had the privilege of seeing and living one of those fundamental changes that we hear about in history. We've had the privilege of living that and seeing it unfold. Everything seems to be changing. Politics is changing. Look at what happened. Look at what's going on in England. A friend I was talking to, she said, "Did you see what's going on?" Because I don't have media. I shut down I don't have cable, so I don't think that when we spoke, she was like, "Did you see what's going on in England?" And when I looked at, right, unprecedented, literally unprecedented, for a politician to say, I can't get my policies to work, or my economic plan won't work, so I'm quitting the job. But we're seeing it. We're seeing it. I'm not judging it. I'm not putting an opinion on it. I'm just saying this is unprecedented stuff, never before seen, that we're seeing. If that doesn't tell you that we're in different times, you know. So now there's a scramble to get a prime minister in place for England, for the UK. What in the world? We're seeing all sorts of strange things occurring. All sorts of first time ever things. And our bodies react to this type of change. Remember I said that every change we have a reaction. Whether we want to acknowledge it or not, we do. So we need to be very self-aware. And now, because of the magnitude of changes that we've experienced, we've got to become very aware of how we deal with change, how change is impacting us. We need to become very, very aware. And we need to make sure we're right, that we're okay, health wise, mindset wise, physical wise, emotional wise, all the dimensions that make us human. We've got to make sure we're okay in the midst of that change, because if we pretend and decide we want to play ostrich and we're not, we don't care, or we don't have to care, or we really don't believe it, then we just might be blindsided. We just might be. So just something to think about, just something to understand, right? Just something to think about and understand. Right? So we got to think about it. So we're here talking about the many facets of change. Right? We just got to talk about the many facets of change. So as we look to go towards, what I call a divine-tastical living life, as we start to live divine-tastically, what does that mean for you, and how does change implicate that? Another aspect of change, another facet of change is related to our mindset, is really up leveling ourselves. I've been going through a whole series of up leveling this year, one after the other. It's been awesome, is the only way to put it. Really deeper level of self awareness. I didn't think that was possible when I started. I thought, working through, and new things to work through, growth, definitely. And when I talk about growth, I'm talking personal growth, in mindset growth, body management growth, right? On the physical side, right? It's just amazing that way. So we have to think about all that stuff, and really, at the end of the day, we want to be okay. So another thing of change is, how do we change ourselves? How do we move towards the outcomes we want and the achievements we want? And some aspect of that is up leveling, looking to perfect whatever it is we want to get better at, looking to get better, looking to get the experience, the skills, and all of that, getting the resources that we need. And that can be another thing of change, doing something new. When I did my pivot, I had a massive, massive learning curve. Massive. I had not been on social media in any big way before. And once I knew that I wanted to be taken on social media a little, more, that was about like when I talk about it, actually, I've got to laugh, because I'm now realizing how naive I was on the basis of social media. I needed to get to know social media and get comfortable with it a little more. That's how I went into it. Oh my goodness, that's how I went into it. I'm laughing now, because yeah, that's how I went into it. And what a steep curve. Hashtags, platforms. The only platform I was on was LinkedIn, and it was just to keep colleagues in contact with colleagues, because after I lost the I had a phone of mine got um, taken anyway. I lost my phone in 10 years of contacts, and that was devastating. And thank God I had done some of the LinkedIn stuff. But that's what LinkedIn was for, was to keep me in close, in contact with colleagues. So I wasn't using it in any big way. Once a year, I'd write up something about how my year went, and that was it. Um, and that was the only platform I was on. And then all of a sudden, I had to learn I had to get familiar with Facebook, Instagram, all these Twitter, all these different platforms, understand them, understand the lingo, understand what things meant. It was a huge learning curve, and it was change. But it had to do with up leveling capability, up leveling mindset, up leveling knowledge, up leveling skills. And here we are. So let me think about it. Yeah, so April, I just had to think about it. April next year will be 3 years. Remember, I said steep learning curve. Steep learning curve. Who would have thought? But I did it. It wasn't easy, but I did it because I was committed. I made a commitment to do it, and I did it. And I knew, but it was definitely something different. It was definitely new. So how do you deal with change? What commitments do you make to get over the change? Where do you assess change to say what's the value of that I will get from it? Who knows, right? But you have to think about change in a particular way. You have to think about change in a particular way. And we can either sit there and think of it as the worst thing ever, or we can say, what's the opportunity if I change? Because that's what I had to ask myself about the social media. What would be the opportunity? And now, as I said, when I think back 3 years ago, it was really naive. I had been thinking about it, doing thinking my pivot since 2018. This decision was made, and then I had to figure out how to do the pivot. So I had to figure out the game plan, start the execution of that game plan, and only went live in but it had started before COVID for sure. And then in COVID, that's when it had happened, but not because of COVID. It just was happened to have happened with COVID. But it was really, once the decision, things started falling in place to give me the skills I needed and to guide me to where I needed to go to get the skills and all of these wonderful things. But it was based on a commitment to go into the change based on the opportunities that I saw if I did do it and was successful at the change. And now here I am, not even 3 years later, and doing this. So, what can you do if you are thinking of making changes? What can you do to go the distance, to make a commitment to yourself, do the change, stay, stay diligent, persevere, because there'll be ups, there'll be downs, there'll be mistakes, there'll be things. And because I'm a recovering perfectionist, very proud to say that, by the way. There was a time I would have been waiting for everything to fall into place, everything to be perfect, and I no longer do that. So even that was a learning curve. That was a change for me. Again, see, up leveling your mindset. So now not everything's perfect. I sent you guys to my website, and things are evolving on that website. I'm happy with where it is, but there's certain aspects that if the perfectionist in me would not in prior years would not have released that website with things still going on. Okay, so what a change. That's embracing change. So things will evolve, the website will evolve, the content of it will evolve, any mistakes will be improved upon. We'll correct and we'll trial and error, go ahead and move and go group. But what we're not going to do is not move because I'm waiting for perfection, because I'm a recovering perfectionist. So even that was a change. So the point of this you know aspect is about the about the change in ourselves. We talked about aging, we talked about mindset, we talk about, let's now go into physical change. Right, I want this last hour, I want to talk about physical change and environmental change as well. So if how many of you will should be changing your living situation, for example, but aren't making the decision to do it because the change to you is more terrifying than the situation you're in? How many are doing that? And then when we talk about physical change, how many of you are ready to go into New Year's resolution that I'm going to hit the gym, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that? The good thing about COVID got people out walking, and many people got physically fit as a result of COVID. Woo, wonderful. And but how many of you are wanting to do a physical change but isn't doing what is needed to do the physical change? And what will it take for you to do that change? What's the opportunity there if you do the change and do the actions needed to do the change that will change your body? Right, when I heard like the movie that's out, The Woman King, and Viola, when she spoke about the exercise routine that they did to get her body and all the cast's physique in physical shape for this movie. And Viola's 57. um and you think about it, wow, the commitment that was needed to do that. And they had intense training um to get there. So what do you need to do to attain what you deem to be your ideal fitness level? Because it isn't going to change with a wish list. It's actually going to change with executing on that wish list and taking action, right? And I remember, I'll give you a little story of my own challenges with weight. I had a pregnancy in which I went up to size 22, and I'm not a big, I'm not a big female. I'm pretty tiny, and size 22. And when I got to that level, I realized this wasn't for me, because it's a personal choice. I'm not talking about. I don't want anybody to think I'm saying, being a particular size is wrong or not. I'm saying for my physique and what I was used to and everything, going to a size 22 was not for me. So I want everybody to be very clear. It was a very personal choice, and it has to be for everybody. It has to be a personal choice. And it wasn't for me, and I had to figure out how am I going to lose this weight. So there was a commitment that I had to make, and I literally, when I say this, it's literal. I literally walked off the weight. When I had the kids, they had those jogging push things that I put them in, and walked, and I mean walked and walked and walked and walked and walked. And even then, I think it took 3 months of walking every single day for over an hour a day before I actually saw the results. It just like one day I woke up and the weight, it just seemed like the weight was gone. That's how it felt. It felt like one day I got up, looked in the mirror, and was like, "Oh, I lost the weight." So that was a personal choice for change, and I saw the opportunities as feeling better about myself, and all these sort of things, because that's how it made me feel. Don't get me wrong. Again, it's a personal choice. You figure out what is for you and what works and what doesn't work. And that wasn't working for me. It was a lot to carry around. It wasn't feeling good, wasn't feeling healthy. And I chose to change, and I had to figure it out and not doing it. The other thing, because of years of um, being active, I didn't want to do diets. I didn't believe in diets. I still don't. So I had to find a way to do it that met with my values and beliefs and everything. So I walked. And even then, here's the interesting thing. I was an aerobics type person, high intensity aerobics, jogger, you know, squash. So I was into very active type things. And I couldn't do that no more. I couldn't really do it at the level that I was used to. And I couldn't really do the high intensity aerobics because of knee problems, hip problems, anger, all sorts of things because of the weight. And this is just my experience, guys. So please don't tell me I'm hating. I really am not. It's was my choice, my d- realization. This wasn't for me. Um, so the I was not pro walking. In fact, my viewpoint at that time was walking. What's that going to do for me? It's not very active. That was my viewpoint. I'm being completely honest with you. That was my viewpoint. Walking. What the hell is that going to do for me? But because I couldn't do, even when I tried pushing with the jogging pram and stuff, I can only do like little, like it was like a feeble little, trying to jog and push, and it wasn't working. So then I walked, and I couldn't believe that what walking did for me. But it took a good 3 months. It really did. I just wanted to let you know it took over 3 months. So really, we're talking quite a different type of change, but certainly one I could speak to because I that was my lived experience. And then when it dropped, then I made sure, because then I wasn't going to have any more kids, and I made sure then that I was never going to be in that situation again. So work the formula of weight loss, right? Made sure of that. So now I don't worry about weight gain or weight or anything. I'm not looking to be skinny, and I'm not looking to be a bigger addition of myself. So just stay where I am, and all of that, and um, just happier for it about my body. And of course, I did some other things as well that I'm not prepared to talk about or share, but um, but just to make sure that I felt good, I could feel good and feel healthy and look after my health and stuff like that. So cut out some things like, some people go vegan. Um, I have a friend now not eating meat. So we make all these personal choices, and it's still in the realm of change that is for us. And that's what I'm here appealing to everybody to really, make the choices that works for them, not for other people, but for you. Because we're always still having a you conversation. You start to learn about that. We're always still having a you conversation. So make the changes that work for you and have drive an opportunity for you and drive a benefit for you in the realm of a change. So lots to think about, lots to take in and understand, because these are changing times. In fact, they're changed times. And so we have to figure out how to cope in those changed times. And we have to figure out how to come out on the positive side of those changed times, which is now. Now. Don't shoot the messenger. Please don't. But that's where we are. And, it's affecting us in our workplace. It's affecting us outside the workplace. It's affecting us in our homes. It's affecting us in our social settings. It's affecting us in our communities. It's affecting us in our schools. We can talk about the schools because that's another area of change. That's another area of change. Schools, right? They've changed. They're changing drastically. Schools are making different choices. Right? They're being challenged by online schooling. I just launched a Divine Tastical Living Institute, right? Training on all sorts of things, how to power up. Empowerment training is really what Divine Tastical Living Institute does. It's all about empowerment training. Everything I do is about empowering others, giving them a voice, giving them options, giving them change perspectives. So there, that all those types of things are challenging the current school system that doesn't seem to be able to keep up with the changes happening. See how it all 360. We just did a 360, right? We have people that are worried about their future, worried about what's going to happen. We have thousands of young adults out there running, getting degrees, and some are coming out educated poor, trying to find jobs in their fields or trying to find jobs. And in the midst of them going to school, they are, things are changing as during the times they're in school. And when they come out, they're faced with changes. So things are changing. Things have changed. The things we were familiar with, the things that had become traditional, are now no longer traditional. They're no longer familiar. And we've got to adapt. And the question becomes, how do we adapt? That's the many facets of change. How do we adapt? What do we need to do to adapt? And even when we adapt, what does that mean? How do we proceed after that? Right? The whole vibrations of the world has changed. There's so much discontent, so much sometimes anger. sometimes worry, sometimes anxiety. Why has anxiety and mental health gone through the roof? The numbers have gone through the roof. Why is that? I happen to believe it's because changes. We're being hit with so much change. And the foundations that we would hold on aren't always there for us. Church is practically gone by the wayside. We're trying to hold on to community. There was a time sports would hold you, but now even that, sometimes you wonder if that's there and to how strong that is there. I can't speak to that, but how strong is the ability, is the sports area when they've taken it out of schools, some of them. Some of the schools no longer have sports programs and stuff like that, because that was used to be a hook to help people cope. So what's your coping? What are you doing to cope? How are you coping with change? How are you coping with all this stuff? And coping, we must cope. We must try to cope. We must try to deal with it. We must try to and deal with it in a positive way, right? In positive ways that does not put you in a hospital. In positive ways that doesn't have you stressed out for 90% of the day. Positive ways that delivers a lifestyle of calm and contentment and, you know, that works for you, whatever that lifestyle is. How do you cope? How will you cope? What are you doing to cope? Do you even feel like you're coping? Do you even feel stressed out? What does that mean if you don't? And what does it mean if you do? That's being self aware. That's looking after self care. That's self care, looking after you. Because we're still having a you conversation. It's always a you conversation. With me laying on my own experience, my own what I've experienced in the change in my own changes. So have that you conversation with yourself. What do you need? How do you want to thrive in the coming years? What do you want to achieve in the coming years? Are you on your way? Are you taking the steps that you need to thrive? Are you taking the steps that you need to achieve? Are you taking the steps that you need to be excellent and reach excellence in this new world? Because that's what's going to be all about. That's what's going to differentiate one from the other. Are you excellent? Are you excellent in your capabilities? Are you excellent in your knowledge? Are you excellent in your compassion? Are you excellent in your inclusion? Are you excellent in your language? Are you excellent in your written? Because that's what's going to take to thrive. So what is your benchmark for excellence? Are you achieving it now? Are you heading towards it now? Are you stepping up? Are you willing to step up? Do you want to step up but just don't know how to start? So have you flumped back down and said, I don't know how to start. I'm not going to start. It's too much. I'm here to tell you, please don't. I'm here to urge you not to. I'm here to ask you to Step up for yourself, for you, because we're having a you conversation. Don't let the change deter you, because your change is always around you. Change is always around you. It's always happening, whether you're willing to see it, admit it, accept it, embrace it. It's still always happening. So don't lull yourself into this false thing that I don't want to change. Because guess what? It's happening. Whether you want to or not, it's happening. So you just have to decide, how am I going to thrive in the change that's happening? Or how am I going to thrive in the change that has already occurred? Because some level of change has already occurred. More is to come, but some level of change has already occurred. So I'm here to be your wake up call. Not for you to shoot the messenger. I'm just here to be your wake up call. I'm trying to be your wake up call to say, figure you out in the midst of change that has occurred, will continue to occur, and will speed up when it occurs. So, what is the change that you're willing to accept, embrace, and build upon based on you? How will you overflow your cup? How will you fill you up, overflow your cup, and take some of the overflow to reach your hand out and help someone else? How will you do that? What role will you play in the chain that will be there to help others not be left behind? What role will you play in that chain? But first, it requires you to step up, aim for excellence for yourself, overflow that excellence, and extend it out to others. That's what it requires. That is absolutely what it requires. Right? So, what change? What change? And if you need help with any of this, remember, I am a board designated master coach, able to help you through some of these things, able to help you through it. So you can reach out. You can reach out to Jen at youareworthmore.co. C-O, not C-O-M, C-O. So Jen at youareworthmore.co is how you can reach me. And if you go on my website, jendrakes.com, I would also invite you to be, you on the website, you will also see the ability to be a guest. Or you can also invite me to speak at any summits, any events that you have running virtually. You can invite me to speak at. On the website has all the forms for that. Or if you want to be a guest, by all means, there's also the ability to do that. To submit a topic that you would like to be a guest on. And then I'll look at it and we'll go from there. There's a process, but I want ones that are, committed, because this is serious stuff. My podcast and my broadcasts I take very serious. So Okay, so there's all sorts of ways there to reach out. I also as we come into the last half hour of my stream, I also want to talk about um, some different programs that I do offer. One is for businesses and business acceleration, and it's called ROI Acceleration, and it's our business coaching side of the practice with my team called the Accelerators. And we basically, go into your business, but like basically assess your business, look at it, and determine and give you some recommendations for improvement and to up your cash flow and your bottom line. And we don't take any money from you. Um, so there's no out of pocket or anything like that. So it's something you should seriously look at on the website. If you click on the business coaching, you will see an assessment. You can go through an automated assessment to see to what degree, or you can just book a meet and greet with me and we can talk about it, about your needs. So I just want you to know that. Um, we also have for individuals or from a personal point of view, also offer a number of programs, a mini breakthrough, a full breakthrough that we offer. Again, you can reach out through a meet and greet or through a sorry, you can reach out through a meet and greet as well, or through the email I gave you, Jen, at youareworthmore.co. I'll show it up. And if you want to chat about that, um, about how we can help, that would be wonderful. But at the end of the day, it's a decision if you want to play or explore play in any way, we can have the conversation and do a discovery to figure out how we can help. So just wanted to also talk about that. And some all sorts of new things coming out and programs and support to help support you and your mindset and everything like that. So awesome stuff there. And, you know, thank you for all the people that jumped on and listening to me. I really do again appreciate the support. And, you know, I do this every 2 weekends. So I should tell you when my next one will be before we still have a ways to go before we wrap up. But at the same time, I do want to make sure that you have the information that you need. So our next, let me just give you quickly when the next stream will happen. Will be on the 5th of December. So it'll be on the 5th of December is when I will stream again in this way. I always look forward to it, but between delivering, courses and all of that, I prefer to, I don't want to be taking on that I have to stream at thing. So it's every 2 weeks essentially. You get the point. It's every 2 weeks. So the next stream will be December 5th at 8 p.m. is usually when I start. I run from 8 to 11. And I started about 10 minutes later today, just getting the tech up and everything. So I'll go a little after the hour, 11 o'clock time frame. But I just wanted to touch on all those sort of things to get things going. Um, and so just keep checking the website, check out the store. Really, again, really proud of the store. 2 years or it's 2 years, a year and a half, something like that, of effort to get the store up. Products hand selected for to meet with students. So there's locker decals and stuff like that, and also to meet all the, the needs of my varied audience, from mature adults to young adults, and all of that. So please check it out. Try to think you know look at the fit at my picks, because love those. The bag, oh my god, it's awesome. The quality, awesome. um it's just awesome. It's just like, I'm literally not just saying that. I received this because I checked everything out, just so you know. I didn't just put stuff up and not check it out. So I checked, and when I received the bag, it was way more than I expected, from its packaging to the quality. I have my own that, that I'm walking around with, loving. This thing is just amazing. So I would recommend the bag, and I recommend too the zipped up hoodie. It's waterproof. It's gorgeous. It looks good. It feels good. The material's awesome. So anyway, check out the store. And some other things. The water bottle, also love it, and it has "Lead with Love." Lots of amazing sayings. The notebooks. Anyway, check it out, and you can go to jendrakes.com, and you can check out the store from there. And just, that's my plug for that. Did it at the beginning, doing it towards the end, and that's it. But I am always grateful for any support. I can't go anywhere without you guys. Absolutely cannot. Um, and I treasure you both. You're all magnificent, is my viewpoint. And I want you to know that. I want you to believe it. I want you to feel it. And I want you to get empowered with your potential and your purpose. So we continue with change. We're going to take it home, change. So essentially, I'm going to say this, saying, and then we'll take the, finish up with this. Eleanor Roosevelt said, "You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You must do the thing you think you cannot do. And in order to do the thing you think you cannot do, that means walking into change with belief, strong belief. That means embracing change. That's the only way you can do something that you didn't think you can do. That means that you are about to change your norm, your routine. You're about to take on a change of some kind. So I wanted to just talk about that, because I think it's important for us to put things always in a perspective, that we can process it, two, we can understand it, and three, we can embrace it in order to take the step forward towards action. And nothing gets us anywhere without action. We've got to take action. Small, medium, mid-size, large, huge, doesn't matter. We've got to take action. All it in it is that if you take small action, it might take you a little longer to get where you're going. If you take massive action, you might get there quicker. That's the only difference. Or you might find that the massive actions put you at such risk that, yeah, you know, you fell into the trench and had to get back up, and the one that went a little bit more cautiously missed the trench. Yeah, it doesn't matter. The journey is all different for all of us. It really is. The journey is different for all of us, and all along that journey is one decision after another, one choice and options after another, opportunity presented and one after the other. And it is up to us to decide if we will seize the opportunity or if we will not. And even if we say I don't want to make a decision, it's still a decision. Listen to my podcast about decision making beasts to learn what I am talking about. um, so I welcome some thoughts on thing. If you're being shy, don't be, jump on, chat it up with me, tell me your thoughts. Um, and let's go from there. I am more than willing to to let you know. Please follow me. Thank you so much for joining me and listening. You've been awesome. Thank you. It is always appreciated. Always appreciated. So, you know, let me know your thoughts. Jump on. Don't be shy. Why is everybody being shy? Jump on and let's take me home. Take me home in the last half hour. You can take me home. Jump on and tell me your thoughts on change. I would love to hear from someone. Tell me the type of person they are related to change. Do you like change? Do you hate change? You don't care? What is it? What is it going on in your head as I speak about these topics and these different perspectives? I hope your wheels are turning. If I can get your wheels turning, that makes me really excited and happy, because that's what I want to do, is give you different perspectives of thinking about some things that about things people sometimes make really, 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 really complicated. And I think there's a way to present sometimes these complex things, in ways for you to better process it. And more importantly, for ways that you can apply it to self. Because as I said, even though I'm sitting here talking and giving you some of my experiences and perspectives and thoughts, um, I still am always having a you conversation. I'm always still there, waiting to have those conversations, right? So here we are, Dr. Robert James. Oh, thank you so much for joining me. You're going to help me take it home with a strong message. Talk to me.
Okay. I had a talk earlier about prosper and going for what it is that you know and who you are to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There is quite a few people out there are just now flashing on who they are,
right,
and what it is they want to be, mm-hmm, or do. Change for me was to not to give up, because I had all kinds of opportunities to do just that. Mm-hmm. At the age of 8, I was always thinking about the future and what my mom and father had, and my uncles and aunties, and having a nice house and kids and the car with the 2.5 cars, the white picket fence, mm-hmm, the whole 9 yards. I was thinking about that, and looking at them, right, at the age of 8. But my uncle will always come over and say to me, "A penny for your thought, Jane." I would tell him. I would tell him. Mm-hmm. He would encourage me for being a truck driver to a tractor driver. Mm-hmm. Turn around, give me the penny, and then ask me, did I understood what he just said?
I would say, yes, sir. Then he would say, okay, now tell me in your own words. And he did that with me from the age of 8 to the age of 11.
Okay.
So now, when someone asks me something, I feel like I could give them a straight answer without a joke or a curse word to get my viewpoint from.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's so, and that came from your training from 8 years old. So he gave you a voice. He gave you a platform. What he did was he gave you a safe place to have a voice and to explore what is going on in your head. And that is amazing. That is amazing, because I was brought up where kids were meant to be seen, not heard. You know, I was brought up in that time. And so, but I became a thinker. What I then became was very very reflective of things. And I still spoke, you know what I mean? I still spoke, but I had to speak in respectful ways, and not, I had to kind of find a way to frame what I'm saying to not be deemed or taken disrespectfully in the culture that I grew up in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And exactly, but
let me say this here. My grandmother would say, "I would do whatever I can for you, but you got to ask me, because I do not know what you are thinking."
Right. Yeah, but those are awesome. The fact that you and right now you think of those things as beautiful memories, correct?
Exactly.
And yes. How has go ahead.
Actually, I retired from saying them words from people, because each time I said, someone else learned something, you know, and their ability to trust themselves what it is they want to do. You know, and so I constantly let people know that there is another way, and that is your way, not someone else's viewpoint.
Exactly. So what would you tell them about changing? What related to change now? When, especially with, and we know, like, as I said before, there are people struggling. I don't know how we got to this level of which people now struggle in silence. That's the part that I find I'm needing to get used to, because I grew up in a community of, especially a community that immigrated, right? So they immigrated from the islands here, and that community was very close, and nobody suffered in silence, both from a church community perspective, but also from a cultural community perspective. They didn't suffer in silence. And so I'm not used to it. But what I'm finding in this day and age is people are suffering in silence. And
it's a level of communication.
Exactly. And it's heartbreaking when you then kind of get a snippling of that something is that they are struggling, right? Like it feels like society thinks that has a negative view of struggle. Like they all have been hit with these images of, as you say, the big house, the many cars, a certain lifestyle. And if you're not living that lifestyle, the thing seems to be that you should be ashamed, right? But I'm here to tell people, no, you don't need to be ashamed. You can change your circumstances. You can change you can change. Don't let other people put their impressions of you on you. So that's how I look at change on a number of different, and the reason I called the topic the many facets of change is because they are definitely all sorts of different change. So how do you consider yourself someone that takes change very easily?
Take change what?
Do you consider yourself someone that embraces change easily? Did you hear me?
Me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you embrace change easily?
Yeah, yes, the answer. It's me. I embrace. Not
Okay.
change. Yes, because it's the person within you is the one who will make the decision, not what's change.
Right. So you don't, but you don't get caught up then in and what the change is. You are about how do I address the person in me related to the circumstance.
Exactly.
Okay. I love the simplicity of that.
Okay, it's all about you and how you're going to perceive your life. And if you're going to change to satisfy someone else, or you're going to change to be glamorous or fashion, it's all up to you. So, hey, and that with the basics.
No, I love it because you also reinforce when I keep saying to people at the end of the day, I'm still having a you conversation because it's all about you. I can't tell you what to do about you. You've got to listen and you've got to reflect and you've got to say, okay, how do I fit in here? And how do I make whatever adjustments I need to get to the me that I see or wish to be? You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Oh yes, because I look at it as you are entitled to your viewpoint, but it doesn't mean that I have to do it. But I can do any parts of it, none of it, or all of it. But the main thing is you take it and make it your own.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, you're the one looking in the mirror and deciding what's looking back at you. Am I satisfied with that? Right? Because you're always with you.
That's right. And are you looking at someone else's viewpoint or are you looking at yourself?
Exactly. So, no, that is perfectly said. Dr. Robert, perfectly said. I love it. I love your philosophy of you've actually made what people make very complex very simple. You said, don't worry about the change, worry about you. So we were having a conversation, Darryl and I, earlier about technology and how the changes of technology is getting rapid, So you told me I believe you said you're retired, correct?
Yes. Speaking of change, my mother and father brought us to 24 encyclopedias. I was 10.
Okay.
And now you can ask Google, what's that intercom name?
Which one?
Echo.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No. But to tell someone, go to a book, a dictionary, and look it up. No way.
Yeah.
A man told me that he went into the store and he looked around and he seen this whole collection of books. Now, it was dust, spider webs, and all kinds of stuff over there because no one walked over there in years and not even to clean it up.
Right.
That's what. Yeah. No. So it's a really big difference between then and now. It's all right. Hey, I'm learning.
Right.
And just being on this app, and the opportunity to excuse me, to share my wisdom and knowledge.
Well, that's important, right? That's the important piece is that wisdom. We don't want that type of wisdom lost to us, right? I'm sitting quiet listening to you because I just ultimate respect, right, for the wisdom that comes from your vessel, and it's magnificent. So it's got to be respected, and I think these are what these new technologies enable for us. So when I really say that we have to be on top, I commend you. I literally commend you for, the age parameter that you're probably in, and being on top, like being able to come into this platform and leverage it and share your wisdom. Because as I said, remember the example I used earlier was my mom was not willing to do that, and now she really is one that is a senior that will be left behind in technology because it's so hard
Yes.
now for her.
Yeah. Well, but hey, you there, and she gave you the wisdom to move forward.
Absolutely.
Yes. And when I was in the fifth grade, our teacher asked us to memorize the 50 states and to learn to spell them.
Mm-hmm.
She asked me to go to the board and spell Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
I could not spell that word forward. But what I did is walk to the other side of the board and spelled the word backwards.
Which word?
She said, James, Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
She said, James, you are dyslexic, and that is unique. And so after the class, I went to the library,
Mm-hmm.
looked up the word, and realized what it said, and then I challenged myself. So, like that. In the sixth grade,
Mm-hmm.
my sixth grade teacher said, you have a special talent. Don't ever stop using it.
Right.
And I have a PhD in philosophy and wisdom, a bachelor's in humanity and logic.
You hear me clapping? Thank you, Dr. James. Thank you so much. I applaud and respect your achievements. There's someone that achieved, despite the messages that was given to him that he was dyslexic, that he achieved. Dr. James, total respect. Thank you very much for sharing that. We can achieve. It's all about setting our minds to it. It is being determined to do what we need to do. And if we have to write something down 6 times to get it, that's okay. Whatever the approach we take, it is okay for us. So determine the you that you need to be. What do you need to do? Jen Drakes will always encourage you forward. Always. Because I see the magnificent, I hear the magnificent in all of us. And wow, I'm just so touched by that. I really am. Thank you, Dr. James. Really, you made my night with that. Daryl, thank you also for jumping on and all of that. We can learn from each other. We can support each other. We can achieve, we can get through these difficult times, because I don't know how else to call these times. I just know that we need each other. We are stronger together than separated. We are all one. I have talked about the fact that the universe. Thank you, Dr. James, for following me. I really appreciate that. Um, we I talk about the universal law of oneness. It's the number one law, universal law of oneness. And that means we are all connected. All things are universally connected. A thought from me emanates into that space and extends to all of us. And the same from you to me, and from, we are all connected. So we need to support each other. We need to embrace each other. We need to accept each other and really help as many as we can through these difficult times and through the change that will continue to happen and will continue to speed up. And it starts with you. It literally starts with each and every one of us to persevere, to get our cups flowing so that they overflow and have enough for others. I cannot tell you how that much. And it starts with a number of things. It starts with creating choice and options. It starts with making decisions. And it starts by accepting that change and doing then all the actions needed to get us where we need to be or want to be or are destined to be. And that means exponentially growing our potential for so much more, and literally blowing up the worth that all of us have. I mean, like blowing it out, blowing it out. Just think of this, the big magnifying spotlight. We all talk about these ring lights. I've got some here. We all talk about these ring lights. Just be a ring light. The brightest ring light you can possibly be a ring light. Aim for that. And get through these tough times by first focusing on you and what you need. By first focusing on you and what you need. And don't be scared with change. It's always around us. Always is. Every minute, every second, every millisecond, something has changed. So change is there. And change will occur whether you fight it or not. So don't fight it. Just embrace it and see where you fit into change and where the opportunities are for you in the change. Because we can be excited about it. We certainly can. And we can manage it. We are amazing beings, amazing individuals, and we can manage the change. But first, we have to make a choice. And then we have to make a decision. So don't be afraid by it. Change comes in many different flavors, many different ways, many different facets. And as long as we wrap our heads around that, we will start to feel less and less about change. When we hear about change, just try to understand it. Say, what's the context of the change? What is this change going to do for us, do for me? That's a big one. What will it do for me? What can it do for me? How can I ride the wave of the change, not be drowned by the wave of the change? That's what we need to say and explore and embrace change with. So don't be scared by it. Don't be scared by it. It's always there, just like fear. Just acknowledge both of them, fear and change, and just go, okay, let me see how I step up. It's like years ago, the internet, right? When the internet was coming, people were like, oh, what is it? But look at the people who weren't afraid of the change. Look on YouTube. All the first beginners of YouTube prospered because they weren't afraid of the change. The ones that hesitated, I don't know about that. I don't know. Fighting to catch up, fighting to catch up. Embrace the change. Embrace it. Don't worry about it. But make sure you're not going to be left behind. So ride that wave. Don't be drowned by the wave. Ride the wave into whatever the opportunities will be for you. Right? When we need to protest, we protest. When we need to, and not in any violent way. So make sure, because I'm totally nonviolent. I'm completely pacifist. But we need to figure out where we will fit. And the aim is not to make sure you're not left behind and that you can keep up with it. And where I keep saying that is because of the pace that I see change will come. In this particular stream, we called out artificial intelligence. We called out, economic change, the inflationary times, um, making seniors having to consider, roommates and house companions and things. And those who embraced it, even though it was from a financial standpoint at the start, ended up making it work very nicely. And then there was some still resisting it, to say not them, and that's okay. If they can weather things, without having to do it, that's fine. That's all fine and dandy. But those were some of the changes that we called out. We called out age as being a change, dynamic that we all go through, right? We called out, up leveling of our mindset and our skills and capabilities as being another point of change. We called, there was so much we talked about in this stream, that I the aim of all of that was to make sure that you got to understand that change is just one of those everyday things. No different when you wake up in the morning, you go through the routine of a new you, right? Because even your body has changed. We talk about, while you sleep, the quality of your teeth are changing. You get up, you got to brush them. The dead cells are forming on your body, and thinking that when you get up, you got to wash the dead cells off and allow room for the new cells to show, and eventually they'll become dead cells. So we're always changing. New hair pushes out old hair and stuff like that. We are always changing. So the whole point of this broadcast is to call that out and let you know that it is nothing to fear. It is nothing to be anxious about. It is something to just look at. Make sure that you are aware. Like, don't just play ostrich and pretend that nothing's changing, because it is. We're already in a time of significant change, and that will only start to pick up its pace. And we must thrive for building excellence in us, excellence in our thought patterns, excellence in our ability to embrace, excellence in our functioning and coping mechanisms, excellence in our physical stature and body, excellence in our emotional, excellence in our spiritual. That is what we're looking for. That is where we need to be to weather the changes that have come and will continue to come. And I want to thank everybody. I am so humble for, um, the support, the listeners. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to me, for supporting me. I ask that you continue to support me. You can do that by going to jennDrakes.com, JENN Drakes.com, and see all the things that are offering. In my recovery of perfectionist, things are continuing to evolve on the website, will continue to evolve. And from there, if you ever need my support, my ear, my guidance, professionally or otherwise, please reach out. You know where to find me. And if you want to have a topic, or you know of someone that would be a great guest for the podcast, please use the form on the website to submit the topic and the thoughts, and we'll go from there. And also, if you are looking for a speaker or a presenter or keynote, please consider me. I'm more than open. As I say, I'm open for business. So I like to have fun. So anyway, on that note, thank you so much. It's appreciated, and I will be out of here now. Follow me, support me, and until December 5th, when I'll be back on for my next stream. And I will look for the streams as they come up to support Daryl and Dr. James and everybody. So thank you so much. It's all about community and support. And with that, I bid you a good night and a wonderful remainder of the weekend. Ciao. Out of here. Ciao. Hmm. All right. So well, that was awesome. So thank you so much, everyone. I'm out of here. So shutting down. Thank you.